Are you someone who's been working in your business way too much and you recognize you'd like to work on your business more and more, but you're not exactly sure how to make that switch? Well, this video's for you. So oftentimes when we're working in the business, it's a very tangible effect. We're turning that work over on a day-to-day basis. But when we move to working on the business, it can be a bit puzzling about where even to begin. So when you're working on the business, we can work on thinking the big strategic thoughts or implementing new skills in the business. I've done previous business videos on those skills and how to develop those. Today's video is on how to think about those bigger strategic thoughts for your business. So if you're trying to think bigger strategic thoughts for your business, there are 3 different levels of thinking to focus on. One is strategic thinking, number 2 is tactical thinking, and number 3 is day-to-day operations. And to follow through on actually thinking deeper about your business, there are 2 key things to keep in mind. Number 1 is, as the CEO of your company, if you're not the one thinking about these deeper problems, nobody else is. Everyone else in your organization is going to be mostly focused on just turning over each day's work and getting that done, not the bigger picture. Where are you going? What will things look like in a year, 2 years, 5 years? How to get there? What changes have to happen? They're more interested in just keeping things going on a daily basis. So it's important to recognize if you're not doing this, nobody is. And if nobody is, it's likely to become like Groundhog Day, the movie where every single day was just like the day before, repeated over and over again. Then year 2 is likely going to be just like today. So time out of the daily grind and into this big picture stuff is very essential to making the future you want and not finding yourself in a jail you don't want. The number 2 key thing to remember is that it takes dedicated time and focus to spend to be able to actually even think these thoughts. I know you're a busy entrepreneur. Your to-do list is 1,000,000 pages long. You'll never actually get through all of it. That is okay. In order to have time to think strategically on your business, it's very likely you'll end up having to let some of those crazy things that are going on, letting those fires just burn for a little bit, letting them smolder. Maybe you have to step away whenever it's a major catastrophe and then come back again. But it becomes a juggling act. And if you don't forcefully make that space, it's unlikely that you'll actually be able to do it ever, because you'll never finish your to-do lists and have a clean day with nothing on the schedule. So this is where it's an art form of how much time can you claw back and protect to do this thinking time versus how much is needed to keep daily operations going. I'll talk more about that in future videos. I just wanted to reiterate that this is not a thing you'll have the luxury and the leisure of doing, but you'll have to specifically make this a priority to carve aside an hour or 2 every week or a few weeks to kind of focus in on this. So let's define these terms and then talk briefly about the order of priority, and I'll do a deeper dive in a future video on each one of them individually. So there's 3 areas of thinking were strategic, tactical, and day-to-day operations. Strategic thinking is like the art form. It's the overall approach to business and what you're trying to do and how you're expressing yourself. Tactics are the scientific part of the business. You're running various experiments. If I do this versus this, which one is working better? Which I do more of? Which I do less of? Which tactics help my strategy come to light? And then finally, the day-to-day operations. This is how you keep things going on a daily basis. This is key because these are repetitive tasks you'll do over and over again, and the more efficient they are, the more bandwidth and space that gives you. So in order of priority, I recommend, if you haven't done much thinking about the business, to start on the strategic thinking, just a couple hours to have a general idea of where you are. Again, I'll have a video that dives into how to do that more in depth later. Then tactical thinking, once your strategy is clear, again, it's just a couple of hours, and then you're probably going to be on autopilot for another 6 months or a year. The day-to-day operational thinking is very, very important because it is recurring returns on that. But until you have strategy and tactics in place, the day-to-day operations can be kind of flexible. That's why usually that's the last one. It's also the biggest chunk of ongoing time. So if you're just beginning to think of how to work on your business more than in your business, the thinking side of things, strategy first, then tactics, then day-to-day operations is a really good runway. Stay tuned for future videos where I'll dive in more on each one and how to specifically think on your business to improve it and get to that next level. Thanks and have a great one.